President Biden wrote, "It's in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term." Just minutes later, the president used social media again to endorse Vice President Harris, urging Democrats to come together and beat Donald Trump. With that, Harris officially entered the race, saying she's honored to have the president's endorsement and that she plans to earn and win this nomination. Within hours, most other party leaders, including Bill and Hillary Clinton, potential running mates, or those who might have been potential challengers, backed her bid, a sign she could quickly earn it in the coming days.
She's been a key part of the successes at home and abroad of the Biden-Harris legacy, and I think she is best positioned to carry it forward.
But some big names held back, including former President Barack Obama, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. The unprecedented campaign shakeup comes more than 3 weeks after Biden's debate against former President Donald Trump.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
The 81-year-old's performance raised doubts about his mental fitness and led to mounting pressure to step aside from Democratic allies. Biden was defiant against those calls for weeks.
Come on, guys. It's a little disrespectful. It's a little disrespectful to keep pointing to this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we know, all right? We know. Come on now. Yeah, his brain is no good. He dropped out. Now it's a little up to keep posting his highlights like this. The debate was the best thing that happened to the Democratic Party. I mean, I agree. It's their incompetence. It's the Biden re-election campaign's incompetence that actually gave us this opportunity.
I'm running and we're going to win.
Before conferring with a tight group of advisors and family members and deciding late Saturday to end the campaign.
With Joe Biden as the heart and soul of our party and Kamala Harris coming out swinging against this ticket, we've got the recipe for victory.
As for Republicans, House Speaker Mike Johnson continued to test a line of attack against the Democrats on Sunday morning.
It would be wrong and I think unlawful in accordance to some of these states' rules for a handful of people to go in a back room and...
Really? Would it be? Is that how that works? Does Mike Johnson care about the Democratic primary and the Democratic Party's wishes? That's so funny. This is just tears. You're literally a crystal fascist. You don't give a about democracy, and also hilarious that you're over here being like, oh, well, you know, I'm quite concerned about what this says about the democratic process in the Democratic Party's primaries. Brother, who are you talking to? Who are you trying to reach? Are you trying to reach the Biden or busters? They do not exist. People that went into the Democratic Party's primaries and voted for Joe Biden are the most deep blue loyalists you've ever seen. Not a single one of those votes will not be cast for whoever the is on the ticket. This is not like Bernie Sanders. Even with Bernie Sanders, there wasn't a significant percentage of Bernie voters who busted and refused to vote for Hillary Clinton, even though the media constantly framed it as such. But these guys are not even going to be that percentage, okay? I do not know a single, and I do not believe, by the way, even if there was like one guy on Twitter or something, I just don't believe, and you will never get me to believe, that there's a significant percentage of Biden or busters out there that are like, oh, Kamala Harris? No, I'm not voting. Wait, are you pro-Harris? Is she the best choice for you? No, of course she's not the best choice for me. But I wear multiple different hats. Sometimes I wear a Trump hat. Sometimes I wear a Democratic Party analyst hat. Sometimes I wear an elections analyst hat. A lot of times when I talk about how a candidate is viewed by the broader electorate, like with Joe Biden, I made it known that my own personal opinion was irrelevant in terms of Joe Biden's re-election chances, because my own personal choice in the matter was that I was not going to vote for Joe Biden, right? And I said it pretty publicly. It is something that I've never said before in any of the elections that I've covered since 2016. I've never been like, I'm not voting, 100% I'm not voting 10 toes down for whoever the Democratic candidate is. And Joe Biden was the first time that I ever said that. Now, even then, when I talked about Joe Biden having to be swapped out, it wasn't just for my own personal hatred for Joe Biden's policies on Gaza. It also was a broader analysis on the way that like the public, the voting public, the voter eligible public viewed him. Do you see what I'm saying? Not a single issue voter. No, that's not the reason. You can cry, but there are plenty of people who, most people are single issue voters if they're not just ideologically aligned with the party. 80% of the American voting public votes on party lines. They don't vote on ideology. 20% vote on ideology, and that 20% are actually the single issue voters that you're talking about. There is no one that is making like comprehensive analysis on in terms of who they're voting for. But if you were to say like, for me, it was just genocide, it's an ironic thing to point to. Like, oh, wow, I can't believe this guy has a really, really angry opinion on the American participation in the ethnic cleansing of an entire population. Like, yeah, no, that's a perfectly valid thing to be a single issue voter on. I myself, however, had definitely broader analysis and more reasons than just that. His mental deterioration played a big role in it. Anyway, let's keep talking about the issue at hand. So when I give you guys broad analysis, broader coverage of like what the American voters are looking at, what the American voters are seeing, I'm thinking about it from the framework of like what they care about, what they vote on. That's why I constantly talk about like in terms of NATO. Obviously, I have my own personal convictions on NATO, but that's not what I'm talking about when I talk about NATO in terms of this election. When I talk about NATO, what do I always say? Americans in swing states or Americans across the board outside of the DMV do not give a shit about NATO expansion. Like, Americans are not like, thank God, man. Thank God Biden brought in Finland and Sweden into NATO. You will not find one person in the real world that's like, nah, I'm actually voting for Biden because I was thinking about voting for Biden because he put Finland and Sweden into NATO. It's like, what are you saying? That's just the Reddit vote. It is not even marginal. It's not real. It's not a real movement, right? So in terms of my analysis, like, I separate my own personal opinions when I'm talking about elections. When I'm talking about elections such as this one especially, right? My own personal convictions, I will always tell you what they are. But when I'm talking about like what plays well, sometimes that is at odds with what I personally believe. When I talk about immigration, however, my own personal convictions actually do align with what my expectation is from the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party leaning to the reactionary sentiment that is purely built on hysteria in terms of like migrant crime, that is actually a failing method. That is actually a losing narrative. Pretending to be concerned for Democrats who supported Biden is just disgusting. Yeah, that's really funny. I love that though, because that narrative would work if there was like some ideological fissure between Joe Biden and the rest of the Democratic Party. But Joe Biden historically is a center-right Democrat. So there is no ideological division between Joe Biden and whoever the is going to be at the top of that ticket. Do you understand what I mean? So obviously this narrative doesn't work. It's a failed narrative. They should throw this aside immediately. I mean, I'm happy with them not casting it aside and continuing to like hammer this narrative and be like, the wishes of the Democratic primary voters are not being reflected. It's like, it's very stupid. Okay. It's a very dumb narrative. And today we're going to be focusing on a lot of dumb narratives coming from the Republican Party that are currently flailing. They're flailing. They're desperate. They have no idea what to do. They haven't been able to figure out like a coherent way to attack Kamala Harris. And it's kind of shocking that they didn't even like think about how they would attack Kamala Harris if that moment came, especially considering the reality that, and I've repeated this over and over again, since 2019, it was obviously known that Kamala Harris, there's a pretty big likelihood, unlike any other vice president, that she might become the president, even in the first term or potentially during the re-election campaign because of Joe Biden's age, right? So how did they not actually present a decent line of attack against her this entire time? Anyway, that's awesome. Like, it's awesome that they have nothing. But let's continue.
Switch it out because they don't like the candidate any longer.
Last night, he called on Biden to resign immediately because...
By the way, that's precisely how this works. The notion that like, oh, you don't get to switch it out because you don't like the candidate. Like, no, that's exactly how that works, actually. Like, that is what a competent party would do. And you're just mad that the Democrats, for once in their goddamn lives, were able to do something that a competent party would do. They're like in awe. They're shocked. They're shocked. They're like, how could they have done this to us? How about you worry about running a good campaign? How about you worry about trying to get Trump in office? The do you mean? Oh, the Democratic primaries, the wishes of the Democratic Party primary voters is not being reflected. It's like, no, I think they're fine. I think they're happy with it. What is this?
It is the weirdest thing to me. Democrats say that it is racist to believe, well, they say it's racist to do anything. I had a Diet Mountain Dew yesterday.
This is a really bad narrative. This sucks. This is so 2016 coded. Yeah, good luck, dude. Good luck, guys. Hey, good luck. Joe Biden was president for the past 4 years. I don't know if you know that. He is literally racist. Joe Biden, who was the Barack Obama administration's hand-selected candidate for vice presidency, was hand-selected because he had a track record of being kind of racist and routinely making off-color remarks, okay? Good luck, though.
Yesterday. And one today. I'm sure they're going to call that racist too, but
I'm gonna tell you something, okay? If drinking Diet Mountain Dew is racist, I'm a Klans member. Ain't nobody's out here saying drinking Diet Mountain Dew is racist. Like, the f do you mean? What a dumb argument. Oh, you can't whip up this kind of narrative, dude. You can't do that.
it's good. I love you guys.
Oh, no aura, no aura, zero aura, minus 1,000 aura points. This is worse than Kamala Harris. This reads worse than Kamala Harris. I'll say it 100%. It's cringe. Some reports that they're regretting picking Vance. Oh, you think? I mean, yeah, duh. This is JD Vance's basket of deplorables moment. Mark my words. Dude, I'm invested in Bashar. I think Bashar al-Assad, the Lion of Kentucky, he would be a phenomenal VP pick. That's my top pick, even more than Pritzker, even though I do like Pritzker.
Because if Joe Biden isn't fit to run for president, he's not fit to serve as president. And Trump agreed, saying Biden wasn't fit to serve from the very beginning.
Kamala was in on it.
His campaign already treating Harris like the person to beat, attacking her in a new ad.
Kamala owns this failed record.
So as you can see, the campaign is underway already, but the president has...
Dude, Andy Bashar, you're like, oh, don't take him away from Kentucky. Brother, Kentucky has one of the deepest, most reddest state legislatures in the country. What are you talking about? He is phenomenal at, exercising his veto power, but he has a veto-proof supermajority of some of the biggest freaks you've ever seen. So, like, technically, he's kind of being wasted in Kentucky. And yeah, his lieutenant governor can take over. Not sure he would be as charismatic,